I was running through my makeup inventory and trying to clean things up, reorganize things, and decide what I should de-stash or try and rediscover things that I've forgotten about. And then I realized I have quite a collection of affordable highlighter options. So I figured before I start throwing anything or giving anything away, I should just do a quick video running through most of these and then let you guys know what I think of them and what some of the cheaper options around are. So obviously I am a little bit of a highlighter addict. I love a glow. The kind of glow I like depends on my mood and the look that I'm going for that day, because I will go from really chunky, glittery, outright glittery, to very subtle, very skin-like, very natural looking sheens. So it really just depends on my mood. I'm just gonna start with the very first one, which is Maybelline Master Chrome. This is a classic. They've now come out with multiple colors as well. This is a very thick, almost creamy feeling highlighter, and it is very dramatic on the skin. It's almost a little bit too orange for my skin tone, so I wish they'd come out with a slightly more neutral and paler option for fair girls. This came out around the time when everyone was going nuts for Champagne Pop by Becca and Jaclyn Hill. So this is a reasonable alternative to that one. It has a very similar sort of golden peachy tone to it. Now the other very affordable and accessible one is Wet n Wild, and of course this is that OG shade Precious Petals, which everyone was trying to rush out and find. Again, as you can see, I find it a little bit too rose gold. On camera it's looking very nice and very bright, but in real life this is actually very much more of a coral toned golden shade, and it's a little bit softer. It's not quite as dramatic as the Maybelline Master Chrome. So if you like the very blingy one, go for the Master Chrome. If you want something a little bit more subtle and fine-grained, then go with Wet n Wild Precious Petals. Again, this works better on medium to tan skins. Not so much for fair to light skin tones, because you can kind of see that peachy, orangey undertone as a streak on your skin at certain angles of the light. Now NYX has quite a few options, and my favorite one of the three that I own would be the Born to Glow powder highlighter. Now this one I don't hear that much about, but it is a beautiful, beautiful blonde, warm wheat gold. It's not too different from the Wet n Wild and the Maybelline formula. It's somewhere in between. It's not as hard and subtle as the Wet n Wild. It's not as creamy and kapow as the Master Chrome. So I kind of prefer the NYX one to either of those. I think this is a little bit of a hidden gem. Not a lot of people talk about it. I hear a little bit more about the Chromatic highlighters, but I think this one is a hidden gem. Now, of course, the chromatic ones are the ones with a strange shift to it. I have a pinky lilac one as well, which I couldn't find, but this is the one with the icy blue shift. I'm not gonna lie, guys, there was a period of time when, you know, highlighters were so huge and we just got bored of using the same old champagne and gold and ivory ones, so everyone went crazy for the colored duochrome shifting highlighters. I don't know, the only ones I ever used would be the yellow gold and the pink gold ones. The liquid is pretty nice as well. It's not quite as intense as those cover effects ones, but then considering how cheap this is, it does pretty well. You can mix it in with foundation, you can wear it under foundation as a glow primer, and you can tap it on top of foundation for a slightly more subtle glow. This is a little bit sparkly, so it will look a little bit like makeup, but if you don't want a very metallic, very intense powder shift, then this type of liquid might be good for you. Speaking of crazy color highlighters, I'll just get this one out of the way. This is the Zoeva Spring Strobe Spectrum palette. Now they have quite a few highlighter quads, and this is the one that has the 4 color shifting shades. So you can see this one's blue, this is gold, this is green, and this is pink. And most people would typically only use the gold or the pink because these look kind of natural on the skin. It doesn't look jarring. The blue and the green I feel work nicer as eyeshadows. So we can see they are quite white, a little bit chalky. So if you have very deep skin tone, this is not probably gonna work that well on you. But I have to say the Zoeva cheek highlighter formulas are very smooth. They are very easy to work with. Now, since we're talking about palettes, I'm gonna move on to the Makeup Geek formula. I love Makeup Geek highlighters. I mean, if you don't mind investing a little bit in the shipping and you're placing an order for multiple items, I would say definitely try out at least one of the Makeup Geek formulas. I do have a lot of the individual shades. They don't come in like this, they come in a compact like that. But they're all the same size. And this is one of the first highlight palettes that I bought. And it is the Kathleenlights collab. This is the one with 3 shades in it. Obviously, you get more product for less money when you buy it in this sort of format. I believe the individual shades are now available for sale, so you don't have to invest in a whole palette. If this had been available earlier on, I might have just gotten that because this shade is just way too deep for my skin tone and I don't really use it except as an eyeshadow. These two though, the soft gold and this pale, sort of like a champagne pink. The formula is buttery, it is very intense, it is very blendable. Makeup Geek highlighters deserve a little bit more attention than they get. Now, speaking of online brands, you can't not talk about Colourpop. And as far as I know, they have 3 formulas. You have the Supershock cheek ones, which of course are what they are famous for. This is the shade Smoky and Whistles. It's one of my favorite shades. This is a very pale, sort of a peach silver tone. And these are so blendable, they're so easy to work with. What I love about the Supershock cheek formulas is that you can go very subtle, you can build it up and be more intense, it will just stay where you put it, and it doesn't look powdery. And these are so cheap, they're under 10 USD, you can buy a bunch of different colors. The only annoying thing about Colourpop is they keep discontinuing and bringing out new colors from time to time, so sometimes I don't know what I should feature and not feature from their range because there have been many occasions where I talk about something and then realize that, it's no longer available for sale. Now, the ones that I find nice and very versatile, if you like to do a little bit of DIY mixing of highlight powders into your foundation, into liquids, into your moisturizer, if you like to have a body glow, you can mix this in with your moisturizer or a body oil. These are their loose highlighters. My beef with these is the shade range. When I bought these, I think last year or so, there were only 2 colors, and both of these are quite warm, not really the best if you have very pale skin. So this lighter shade is Chromy, and it's more of a neutral champagne, and it is a lot more sparkly. You will see more obvious glitter particles in there. On the face, this can look extremely dramatic, but if you dust it all over your body, your collarbones, dust it down your shins, your legs will look so good. But for daily use, I have to say this is not my favorite formulation or format for highlighting. Now, when they came out with their panned or pressed highlighters, I was pretty excited. This one is Here Kitty Kitty, which is my favorite shade of their entire lot. It's a soft champagne neutral. It is a very beautiful color. And I thought, this was going to be holy grail because they are so affordable. You can buy the cases and the pans separately. So if you just buy the pan, you have your own magnetic palette. You can just pop these in there. You don't have to spend, I think it's an extra $1 or something for the cases themselves. So it's quite economical. The one thing that I don't like that much about the Colourpop pressed highlighter formula is they do happen to develop hard pan quite easily. So this is one of those formulas that you should not touch with your fingers or dirty brushes too much, because you know how it is, if you've used a face brush a few times, a lot of your sebum and the oils and sweat actually transfers onto the bristles. You dip it back into your highlighters, your blush, your powders, whatever it is, and then all the oils and moisture transfer in there, and then they start to seal over. And I occasionally need to use, you know, the back of a pair of tweezers or something like that to sort of scrape off the top layer, and I feel it's just a waste of product. The other brand that gives me issues with hard pan is H&M. Okay, this one is in slightly better condition. This is Delicate Pearl. This is the paler, more pinky neutral highlighter that they have. I think they have about 3 or 4 shades now, and these are 2 of the lighter ones. Now this one is Sunlit Gold, and you can see the pan. You know, after a while, if you don't scrape these off, if you don't clean it regularly, you won't be able to pick up the formula when you sweep your fingers or you brush over it anymore. But aside from the fact that, you know, these develop hard pan quite easily, the formula is beautiful. The H&M formula is amazing, and these are so cheap. The colors are really, really good. So I would say these are on the semi-subtle side. They are not the extremely metallic, extremely dramatic looking highlighters, but I really, really like them. They are very good for daily life. If you are kind of new to makeup and you don't want to invest too much money, then H&M highlighters, these are very, very good. Now, drugstore pricing can vary a lot from country to country, but I feel in general, Catrice is one of the brands that is uniformly affordable across all the markets it's in. It is always one of the cheapest, most affordable brands that you can find in the drugstore, and they do have a couple of highlighter formulas that I really, really like. This one I think might be limited edition, but they bring out different colors and different collections from time to time, so look out for these square pans. They are beautiful. The formula is very, very similar to the H&M highlighters. They're kind of buttery, very soft. The one that's in their permanent collection is this baked one. This is called Light Infusion 010 Baked Highlighting Powder, and it looks kind of intense because of how light it is. And you blend and you blend and you blend, and it just kind of disappears, and it just leaves the most subtle glow over the surface of your skin. So if you want something very light, very natural, that is not gonna look like you've over-applied highlighter, then go for the baked formula. Now these look like they would be really intense in the pan, but they are actually pretty subtle. They almost have sort of a matte glow to the finish. The pearls are very, very fine, and there is a foggy, kind of a muted look to them. It's almost a barely there kind of an effect if you apply these with a soft brush and you just do a very, very light layer. So you can, of course, build them up, or you can dampen your brush or dampen your face with a face mist before you apply these, and you'll get something a little bit more dramatic. But in general, this is one of the easier highlighters to use for beginners, and I think it is a very, very nice investment. Speaking of nice investments, these are 2 other brands that we often see on YouTube, and we hear beauty gurus talk about these and say how they are, you know, some of their favorite formulas. One of these is the Freedom Pro Highlight. So it's a baked formula, and it's a little bit like those Kat Von D and the Zoeva color shifting ones. One has a gold shift like NARS Albatross, and this one is pink. So again, because these are baked formulas, they look like they would be intense, but you just need to rub a little, blend a little, and they will soften out into almost nothing on the skin. So you can very easily control how dramatic or how subtle you want these to be, which is one of the reasons why, you know, despite owning so many highlighters and having a lot of high-end ones as well, I keep these around, and I really like these 2. They are so cheap. I got these at a Watson's beauty fair a few years back, so you know, they pop up from time to time. They are not in stores as far as I know. Now these are the LA Girl Strobelite strobing powders. They come in many, many shades. I own 4, and they are named according to wattage, so different kinds of light. So this is 110 watts. This is 120 watts, and then you have these softer ones which are 70 watt and 90 watt. Now this is a very, very strange formula because when I first bought these, I ordered them online. They were shipped in, opened them, looked at the formula, touched it and decided, oh my god, it's so chunky, it is so powdery, how is this gonna look good on the skin? But this is just one of those very strange formulas that looks not so nice on the hand, but very nice on the cheeks. This is a very dramatic looking formula though. You will get a lot of shine, you will be able to see the metallic texture sitting on top of your skin. So if you prefer a very subtle, no makeup kind of a glow, this formula is not for you. If you want obvious looking highlight, then go for one of these. The one main reason that I don't use this formula a little bit more is the fact that something about the formula emphasizes texture on the skin. So if you happen to have a rough patch or enlarged pores, visible pores, fine lines, etc., this formula is going to make it more obvious. It looks great in photos, but in real life, just be aware that this tends to emphasize texture. Now, Mina is an European brand that is very, very affordable. They do have a couple of shades of highlighter as well, and I own both, but I have the more sort of champagne neutral gold one here. This is shade 201. This is another one of those that looks kind of dramatic in the pan, but goes on pretty subtle. You kind of need to build it up a little to see a noticeable sheen. Otherwise, it's just a soft glow. I reach for this only on days when I want something really, really soft. I find the Milani's build up intensity a little bit faster than the Mina, but otherwise, they kind of have a very, very similar formula. In my never-ending search for new makeup, I do often troll through the wastelands of the internet, and I will explore places like Alibaba and AliExpress to look for some of the weird and new formulations that a lot of these Chinese manufacturers come out with. And one of these that I found, which I actually kept around because I quite like the formula, is 020. Very obviously what caught my attention initially was that the way that they pressed the pans reminded me so much of the Anastasia highlighters. But the formula is nothing like the ABH ones, so don't even go there. This is very loosely pressed. It is very soft. If you drop these, they will just shatter. So they are not made in the best way, I will say that. But formula-wise, they feel like the LA Girl Strobelite strobing powders, but they are finer milled. The pigments are actually finer grained, so they look better on the skin. When you blend them out, they just go from this chalky, soft, dusty mess into this most beautiful sheen on the skin, and it looks expensive. This is dirt cheap and it looks expensive if you blend it out properly, so I kept all these around. If you happen to like or you want to explore some of these cheaper options, then go on AliExpress or maybe Taobao and look for 020. Now the last brand I'm going to talk about is Sephora, and this might just be the most impressive brand for me when it comes to the more affordable range, and they've just impressed me non-stop in the past few years when it comes to their highlighting game. I have a little bit of a backstory when it comes to Sephora highlighters. Many years ago, when I was traveling in the US for work, I found this eyeshadow formula. This is the most beautiful thing in the world. This was way before anyone got into highlighting, and this was one of their Prisma Chrome eyeshadows. It is just the most beautiful champagne gold. I only used it as a cheek highlight. And then they obviously discontinued this, so I had no other backups. So I stopped using it and I kept it in my drawers just as a reference point. When brands came up with new highlighters over the years, I would just keep comparing back against this one. Makeup Forever came out with their Profusion highlighting powder in shade 02. That's the slightly more golden tone one. It was very similar to this. It's the similar texture that's super buttery, silky, but extremely lightweight and textureless kind of a formula, and it was a similar color as well, this sort of blonde, warm, golden shade that is just so beautiful on so many skin tones. Dior had their Glowing Garden formula, and of course Champagne Pop from Becca as well. All of them had a similar look, but they were also a lot more expensive than this. Sephora finally came out with this formula, their current highlighter series, and I have recommended this many times. I think these are so worth the money. If you're looking at the Dior Skin Nude highlighters, if you're looking at the Makeup Forever Profusion highlighters, go and try out the Sephora ones first. This is just their face shimmering powder. This is shade 02. Natural Glow. They have a 01 as well, which is a little bit more bronze, more golden actually. 02 is slightly more neutral, so this suits me a little bit more. I do wish they would come out with a color that is just a neutral skin-toned pale shade for fair girls. Not pink, not yellow gold, just a neutral pale ivory beige. That would just make the collection perfect. Of course, they came out with their stick highlighters as well. I like their original glow sticks, which were a pearlescent kind of a stick highlighter, which was similar to NARS multiples. They more recently came out with these new glow sticks, which are more of a wet finish, kind of a balm stick. These actually stay wet looking on the skin and they are so beautiful. My favorite shade is this one, which is number 2 Sunrise Shimmer, and this obviously is a more neutral color and would look a little bit better if you have warmer or deeper skin tone. But I love both of these. In the end, on your cheeks, you don't really see too much of the undertone, you know, that cast, the blue cast and that warm cast. These just give that very wet, sweaty kind of an appearance, and I just love it. So these are my new loves. This is an old, long time love, and I still own the original pearlescent glow sticks as well, of course. So that is it for this very quick video running through some of the affordable highlighter options in my collection. I hope this was useful, you know, informative in some way for you if you are kind of new to makeup and you're wondering about some of the more affordable, more accessible options around. Of course, some of these are internet brands and you may not be able to find them so easily in stores, but there are plenty of in-store options around. You know, you just need to go to the drugstore these days and have a look. You no longer have to invest a ton of money just to get very good quality highlighters. I mean, some of these really perform like high-end formulas. If you have your personal favorites when it comes to affordable highlighters, please let me know what they are. Maybe there are a few that I have not tried out yet. In any case, I obviously have way more highlighters than I can ever use up in this lifetime, but I'm always still exploring options. So if you have recommendations or suggestions that you do not see here, let me know what they are in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!